All right, thank you for your patience. Let's go back. Let's go back to the question because now I'm recording. We're set to go. The question starts with, suppose you have a board and you split it into 4 equal pieces, right? Okay, so here's our board right here. We're going to split it into 4 equal pieces. There's 2. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal pieces, right? Okay. Now, let's listen to the rest of the problem. You guys ready? Yep. Here we go. Each piece would be 1/4 of the whole board, correct? Right? We start at 0, but here's 1/4. So this section's 1/4 of the board. This section would be 2/4 of the board, 3/4, and 4/4, right? That all looks familiar. We've done number lines before. We're good? Everybody with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's say that we took 1/4 of the board that we cut, right? And we cut it in half. We take this 1/4 and we cut it in half.
Then that's 1/8.
Landon, you're exactly right. Tell us why.
Because you have to cut it in half, or you have to double it because there's another box, and then you have to double the top one, so then it's 2.
Okay. Yes, Landon's exactly right. He said that this would be 1/8. Let's think about that, and we'll go a little bit deeper. Good job, Landon. Okay, so the question is, what fraction of the original board would you have? Now listen to this. You would be taking 1/2 of 1/4. Yesterday we wrote out our word problems, right? I read it. You wrote it on your board. 1/2 of 1/4. Does that sound like a multiplication problem to you? Yeah, for sure. If we were to write that out, we would say 1/2 of 1/4, right? That's how it would look as a multiplication problem. Andrew, stick with me, Ben. Right? Okay, so we know that. We know it this way. Let's try to show it on our number line. So we took 1/2 of 1/4, which is this spot right here. 1/2, okay? Because I put this one in half and I want to get my total or my answer, I have to actually split all of these in half. Okay. Now I find out how much I shaded in my part to my whole. So let's count how many would be in here if we count all of these separate pieces. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8 pieces now, and we colored in how many? 1. Right? So if I was actually, if I filled in my bottom, we would start at 0 like we always do. This would be 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, and so on. And let's just double check that we did our bar model right. Let's try this. 1 times 1 is?
1.
2 times 4 is? 8. Were we right? Yeah, for sure. Lucas.
Oh. You said we were going to do a number line first.
Well, this is our number line. I kind of made it into a bar because I wanted to show the piece of wood. And in my mind, I guess I was picturing a 2x4. But it really is, we're going to call this a number line, or a bar line. The number line.
Number bar.
3D.
Yeah, it's okay.
There you go. How about that?
Thank you. That's a 2x4.
Okay. Let's try another one. All right, well, we'll try this one. I wanted to do another word problem because I think that's good for you to think of it in a real-world situation. Nah, you don't need to write words quite yet.
Wait, do we need our skateboards? What? No more. Are you going to draw a diagram?
Okay, here's my next example. You ready? Now say that I have a board that is 4/5 of a yard long. That is about 4/5 of a yard. Okay. In fact, let's see. So there's my 4. So this is 0. We've got 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5 long, right? And if I kept going, I just want to show. Now this is how long my board is. But if I had a hole, it would be 5/5 that long, right? Hey, Ashton, go have a seat, friend. Ashton, go sit down. Do this.
Why did you do the dotted line? Why did you do the
I just wanted to show that my board was 4/5 long, but I don't have a whole board, right? Because maybe you could say I cut off 1/5 of it, and now I have just it's 4/5 long.
You could have just ate the board.
4/5 of a yard. Okay.
Big Bobby was really hungry and he ate 1/5 of it.
Fine. Okay. So
And then I go.
our line is 4/5 of a yard. Okay. But I'm trying to think of a real world problem. But your dad asks you to measure 2/3 of this board. So it's 4/5 of a yard, but you only need 2/3. How could we figure out what 2/3 of this 4/5 of a yard board would be? Lucas, what do you think?
Divide it by 2/3.
Divide it by 2/3? You are close. You're right. On our number line, when we start labeling this, it will look like we're dividing. But actually, we could just multiply our numbers together, right? Because when we say 2/3 of 4/5, it becomes a multiplication problem, right? Because that of means multiplication. So we're going to find 2/3 of this total length, which is 4/5. So let's write it out right now so we can kind of see what that looks like. And that might help us show on our number line how we can divide it up. Connor, what else?
I was gonna say you can split each fifth into 3 parts, maybe,
Oh,
and then shade in 2 of those parts.
I like that. Okay, so Connor had a great idea. He says now, so I've already split this into fifths, but each fifth I could split into thirds. Brilliant, Connor. Okay, so now each of my sections I've split into thirds. Yeah? And we're going to find 2/3 in each section. 2/3 of the 4/5. So I'm going to find 2/3 here. This is what we did yesterday. 2/3 here. 2/3 here. And 2/3 here. Do you remember doing this yesterday? Some of you, I made you go back and fix it.
But you said I had to go back and fix it, but I just added it.
You did? That's okay. Well, now let's add up what we got, and then we'll see if we match it when we multiply. Here we go. Let's count them up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we need to know how many sections we have total. Let's count them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, and that's if we had, that's why I put the other. If I had a hole, it'd be out of 15 parts. If you had a hole. You do have to show how many out of that hole it would be. So we do have 15 parts. Now let's check and see if what we added up here matches what we have in our multiplication problem. It's right, Landon? Let's check. 2 times 4 is And 3 times 15 is?
15.
15.
3 times 15.
I said 3 times 5 is?
No, you
Did
said 3 times
I?
15.
I gave it away?
It's 45.
It happens. I was thinking too
buzzer.
fast. Okay, so we matched up. We figured it out, right? Okay. I want to practice this with you before we start talking about the modeling. So this is our first one. We're doing a line, a bar line or a line graph. Next, we're going to do the model, but we're going to practice this. Who's my paper passer?
Me.
Connor.
Oh, it's Riley. Riley's it's me.
Are we? Am I passing out diaphragms?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's going to give you a paper that looks like this.
Diaphragm.
It's a diagram.
Keep passing out the diaphragm. You just realized that?
He did not have, but we are sure glad that he's back. He's feeling better.
Yeah, I don't know if I should give you your diaphragm. Back from the dead.
Natalia went to never died.
What's that?
Natalia's right there.
I need a diaphragm.
You said that.
Since you guys want to talk about diaphragms, we're going to use our diaphragm really fast.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath in and hold it. Hold it. Oh, you're holding it. When you breathe out, keep going. When you breathe out, I want you to push your air out super fast with your stomach. Ready, go. Breathe in and hold it. I want you to breathe out super fast, pushing right here, super fast. Ready, go.
Oh, that hurt.
You're using your diaphragm. Breathe in nice and slow and hold it.
There's your diaphragms.
Now breathe out as slowly as possible, as quietly as possible, but still push with your stomach. I said as quietly as possible. You just use your diaphragm. Your diaphragm helps you to breathe.
I use my diaphragm by screaming.
Yes, technically, I guess you
Okay, very funny.
Okay, let's practice. Now, everybody's got their paper. We're on the very We're on this side. Shh. If you're making noise, I'd like you to stop. Okay. We're going to shade to model the equation. So we have 1/3 times 1/5. Now, our bar line is already divided into fifths, right? You can tell because we've got 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and then we've got 5/5, which would be 1 whole. Okay. Now we can figure out the answer to our multiplication equation, right? We can do that really fast. In fact, go ahead and do that. Do 1/3 times 1/5. Go ahead and put your answer at the top. Right here, you can put equals and put your answer right here before you even shade it. And that's okay. It might help us to shade it in even better. So go ahead and figure out your answer. I know what the next one is. Answer for 3 times 5. I did it again. There you go. Okay, so we got our answer. Yes, sir. Is it? Okay, let's get there. Okay, so it's already split into fifths, right? Now, they have split each of the fifths into thirds. If you can tell, between each fifth section is 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Can you see that on your paper?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to color in 1/3 of 1/5. So here's our 1/5 section right at the top, right? And we're going to color in 1/3 of that section. So here's our very first section. This says 1/5 right here down here at the bottom. And we're going to color in, so we've got 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. So this section is split into thirds. We're going to color in one of those thirds.
1/3, 2/3.
Right? Okay. Now, if I have the rest of my block, like you've got on your paper, to show our answer, we're going to show how many sections we have total. Now, do we need to count how many squares we have?
No.
We could just do, we know it's 3 times 5, right? But we could count. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So our total number of squares is 15. And we colored in one little tiny square at the front. We colored in one of the 15 squares. Hey, Riley, head to your seat, bud. Connor.
It's kind of confusing because of how you're timing it and you're getting something smaller.
Oh, Connor brings up a good point. We are multiplying, but we're getting something smaller. Why do you think that is?
Because, like, it means, like, it's just kind of one part of one.
Yeah, when we're talking about fractions, yeah, this happens. Lucas, do you want to add to that?
Because the square root of 74 is 92. I don't actually know that.
Okay.
That's why.
Good guess, Lucas. You sounded super smart. Here's why, and I think it has to do with the word of. Yeah.
That's what
Because if I am finding 1/3 of a fifth, it means I'm really breaking it down into smaller pieces.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to. It's kind of harder to understand when it's a time symbol because, like, is it actually like 1/3, one piece of a whole, or of a fraction?
Right. True. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Landon,
Now I think
you got it?
I finished all of them.
Wow, that's great. Let's keep going though. Everybody else, you be patient with us. Maybe help somebody around you that might need it. Let's look at the next one. We have 1/3 times 2/4. So let's take a look. We're split into fourths. We're split into fourths, right? We've got 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Okay. And then we have split each of those fourths into 3 parts, which is the denominator of our other one, right? Okay, so we've split it into fourths and then thirds. Now, it says that we need to find 1/3 of 2/4. When I shade this in, I should have turned on my document camera, but I'll use a bright color so you can see. When I shade this in, I'm going to color in 1/3 of 1/4, so I'm going to color in this one right here. But I'm actually coloring in 2/4. So I've got to take 1/4 here and then another 4. I'm going to color in 1/3 of that one.
What?
Notice my equation. It says 1/3 of 2/4. So I'm going to find 1/3 of 1/4 and then 1/3 of another 4 because I'm finding 1/3 of 2/4. So see how I've colored in 2 squares? You with me?
Couldn't you color in the first 2 squares?
Yeah, you could. You could. Kanan?
So that would mean you can't put them right next to each other?
That's what Riley was asking too.
That would be 2/4.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
But that
If you're understanding the concept, I'm fine with it. That's fine.
I did that.
Okay, so now let's find our answer. I colored in 2 squares. So 2 is going to be my numerator. And then my total is how many total squares do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 2 twelfths. Can you see that number that I wrote? Now I wrote with pink and I'm worried you can't see it. Is that the answer to our multiplication equation?
Yes.
Let's find out. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 times 4 is 12. Did we get it? Yeah. Let's do the last one together. We have 1/2 times 4 sevenths, or 1/2 of 4 sevenths. So my line is split into sevenths. And then each of those sevenths is split in half because that's our other denominator, right? So we split in sevenths first, and then each seventh is split in a half. I need to take a half of 4 sevenths. So that's 4 different parts of my sevenths. I'm going to use a darker color here. Okay, so I'm going to color in a half here. And I have to do it 4 times, right? Because here's 1/7, but I got to do it to 4 sevenths. So I'm going to do another half here. I'm going to do another half here. And another half here. Is that what you got?
Did you pick a pen just so it would be easier to get it on while you're kind of holding it on?
Maybe. I just want you to be able to see it.
And also
Okay.
with a pencil.
Go ahead now, and I want you to tell me what our answer will be. I'm going to come around and check. What's our answer? You're going to count up our colored squares. That's our numerator. Then you're going to count up the total number of squares, and that's our denominator.
I don't get it.
Yeah, you got it. Right back. Good. Good job. Good. Sure, you got it. You got it. You got it right. Let Dylan do it. Did you get it? Let us know. Oh, what's the times in here? So what's 1 times 4? And we need to color in 1, 2, 4. So we're gonna let's erase both of those. Now some of you have started on the back. I want you to wait. Don't do your model yet.
I've already done all of them.
Don't do it yet.
Looks too good.
And then 4, what's 2 times 7?
Go back to your desk.
Be good.
We can
Go
even
back to your desk.
Why are you poking me?
Yeah, I did. I thought you meant the total, like, space.
14. There you go. Okay. What are your questions before we move on? Lucas. Okay. Okay. Now we can talk about the shading of the models. This is the part that I really like. You need your colored pencils. Please get them out of your desk. Colored pencils. 2 colored pencils. That's it. You can get out the whole box or get out 2. Colored pencils.
How many?
I would rather you use pencils.
How many? How many? 4?
You'll actually just need 2. Or with this one. Oh, did you? Okay, that's fine. But when you do that, will you double check to make sure that what you got is right? Okay. Perfect. Now get out your math workbooks. Your math notebooks. And I'm looking for the first row. And my page number 92. 92, first row there.
Hunter, get this out.
Raise your hand when you're there, and I'm going to look for the first row that's got it. Wait, what number? Oh, I have a winner again! And they have everybody here today. Nice job. All right, on page 92, I have one. I'm going to turn to my student one so I can actually see it because the other one's so small and I'm getting old. I want you to take a look at how we're shading things in our model here. This is the cool part. You guys are going to love this. Okay, let's start at the top. Jessie, now this is my mom's name, so we're all pretending that this word problem is about my mom. You ready? Jessie knows that the area of a rectangle is its length times its width. She explains how to use this idea to model 2/3 times 4/5. You all see where we got that, right? So the first thing that Jessie does is she draws a rectangle with side length 2/3 unit and 4/5 unit. Okay, so the first one that they wrote, which one does that represent in our equation? This first one that just has red.
4/5.
What was that, Riley?
4/5.
4/5, exactly, right? You can tell in this red one that that represents 4/5. There's 5 parts, and 4 of those parts are colored in red, right? Now, I want you to imagine. Actually, I'm just going to draw this out really fast. Okay, so here's the first one, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here's my version. Here's my version of this square. It's in black, yours is in red, right? We got it? You see 4/5, right? Let's label it. The other part of the question is 2/3. I'm going to draw another one here. Now this one I'm going to model 2/3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one and I'm going to divide it into thirds. And I'm going to color in those thirds. Riley, have a seat, friend. I need your eyes right up here. Okay? So this one represents 2/3. You with me? I've got 4/5 right here and 2/3 here. Now notice my lines on my 4/5 go this way. My lines for my 2/3 go this way. Right? Now, what I want you to imagine happens when we do this is that I take this model and this model and I put them on top of each other. Yeah, I'm taking this model and I'm just going to put it right on top. Yeah. Now you can see what will happen that's the model that has the blue and the red and the purple parts.
Blue, red, and purple, I think.
Exactly. Because the parts that overlap are going to be purple. Our answer to our equation is the part that's purple. I know. It's amazing. So, we did 4/5 times 2/3. Then,
He's going ahead.
it's all right. You worry about you. I'll worry about you. If I put those on top of each other, then the part that overlaps is our answer. So let's count up the purple squares. You count up the purple squares right now. Write it down. Count up your purple squares. Riley told me that there were 8. That's fine. I still want you to count so that you know. Then how many total spaces do we have?
15.
Lucas?
You have 15 spaces and you have 8 15s.
Okay.
But did you know there's 4 90-degree angles in this square?
There's actually a lot. Well, in the square, yes. But if you counted all of the different rectangles in there, you'd have a lot more. Anyway, I don't want you to be distracted. Okay. Now, we showed in our books. You can actually close your book for a minute. Let's try on our worksheets. So, now, this is when you get to use your color pencils. Pick the two colors that you want to use.
Already did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we are going
You're just going to check yours and make sure they're right. Oh yeah, this one's not quite right, huh? Do you have a big eraser?
He's colorblind.
Okie dokie. Do you have two colors?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Yeah, Lucas has brown and purple. What color do I have?
Your color.
Let's see. Who's my lighting director? Is it Andrew? Andrew, will you get one light closest to the door, please? All right, voices are off, and I want your eyes right up here on the board. I don't know why we're shaded right there. Okay, so here we've got question number 1. We've got 1/4 times 2/5. Now, let's see what our shape is already divided into. Which one is it already representing? Which part of our equation is it representing? Braxton? Count how many we've got. Carson? Yeah, it's representing the fifths, right? Because we already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different parts inside of our whole, right? So this part's representing the fifths. Okay, so let's go ahead and color in 2 of our fifths. That's what our equation says, 2/5. So take one of your colors, color in 2/5. I'm going to start right here. Now I don't have to do a perfect job because we're just trying to show something pretty quickly. Okay, there's my 2/5. Does that show 2/5, everybody?
Yes.
Right. Now, I need you to take your pencil, and we've got to now take this square, and we're actually going to show fourths, because we need to color in 1/4. But now my lines are going to go the opposite way. So take a look. Watch me first before you do yours. I'm going to split it into fourths this way. So now I've split it into half. Can you see that? I'm going to need to use a darker marker.
We can see it.
Okay. So it's in half. Now it's in fourths, right? Can you see my fourths coming down this way? 1, 2, 3, 4.
6,
You got me? Okay. Now I'm going to color in 1/4. So here's a fourth, here's a fourth, here's a fourth, here's a fourth. I'm going to color in 1/4 this way.
Why are you doing the same color?
It's not the same color. I've got red and orange. Sorry if you can't see it very good.
I did it.
Okay. Now to find our answer, the first part is let's find our numerator. We find the squares that are overlapping in color, which would be these 2. So I have 2 squares that are red and orange, right? So I'm going to put a 2 as my numerator. And my denominator is the total number of squares. I'm going to count them this time, but next time I think we could do it just thinking of it as an array. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Did you get 2 20ths? Another way that we can check is to do our multiplication straight across, right? We've got 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 5 is 20. Did we get it? Yes! All right, let's try number 2 together, and then I'll let you try the others on your own. So stick with me. Let's do one more together. On this one, we are already split into halves, right? So we're already representing this part of our equation, the half part. Now we need to split. Oh, and you know what? Let's go ahead and color it in. You can use the same color, or you may use a different color this time. I think I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to color in one of those halves.
I'm gonna do orange and green.
I'm doing purple and the colors of your ball.
Orange for all?
That is pink. Yeah.
Orange and green.
And orange.
Okay, now we need to take our pencil. Is everybody colored in? We're good? Somebody raise your hand and tell me, how do I need to divide my shape now? Jackson, what do you think? Great. You're exactly right. Now we need to split it into thirds. So I'm going to make 3 different pieces by putting 2 lines, right? So we'll do one here, one here. So now I've got 1, 2, 3 lines going this way, going the long way. You guys with me there?
No.
Three different parts going this way. I can just ignore that middle line. That was from the other time, but now I'm just using them this way. Okay? And we're going to color in 1/3. So here's 1/3, here's another third, here's another third. I'm going to color in one of those thirds, so here we go.
You colored them the same way. You colored them both.
No, my half is actually going this way because it's this middle line that's splitting it in half. So here's a half, here's a half. But my thirds are actually going this way.
Colors.
My colors? Oh, I colored them the same way?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. That works. All right. So now let's examine our model here. How many sections have both pink and blue?
1.
1. Okay, so that's going to be my numerator. How many sections total are there? 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's multiply straight across and check. 1 times 1 is?
1.
3 times 2 is?
6.
Boom. You guys, we are going to have to finish a little bit later during math interventions because it's 9:30. So go ahead and take this. You may put your colored pencils away, put your workbooks away, put this paper in your desk, and we will work on this a little bit later today.
That was fun.
I know, I love this one. That's great. Put it in your desk still, and we'll work on it later. No. We are doing shared reading.